Well, hello again viewers, welcome back to the channel. Well, I'm in the greenhouse today and it's a little bit nippy. One of the main questions I get asked from a lot of viewers and from a lot of local growers is how am I coping with watering during the winter months for these Masdevallias and Draculas? Well, all I can tell most people is I do it with caution. If the temperature's too low, I don't water. Masdevallias will last a couple of days without water during the winter. If it's too cold in here, I don't bother. At the moment it's about 10 degrees C in here. I think it's about 2 degrees outside, so it's fairly warm in here, but due to the outside temperature I'll hold off on watering today, but I will water probably tomorrow or the day after. And I'll show you how I do it, because people have asked how I do it. Now, you know, you certainly won't be doing any pour throwing or anything like that in the winter. All you're trying to do is moisten around the roots of the pot and not to get the plant wet. So let's crack on and we'll have a look how to do it together. So one of the first things I do before I start watering is look at all my plants and see what needs watering. I take these baskets down onto a table, I'll show you in a minute, and we'll have a look how I water these mazzies in winter. As you can see, they don't look too bad. None of them look dehydrated, or we've got a few yellowing leaves, but that's no big deal. We've got some nice spikes coming still. But yeah, when we've decided today's the day we're going to water, this is how I do it, and this is what I believe how I've got it right. Right, just let's quickly look at this here. Right, this old water bottle, that's what I store my rainwater in. Sorry, my RO water. Once I've put it through the system and I've got RO water, I store it in these plastic bottles. I keep this one when I'm going to water in the winter in the house, because I don't water these mazzies with cold water what's been stored in this greenhouse. I've got water butts, I've also got more of these bottles, but I don't use that water in the winter. I always get my good old GDS meter. As you can see there, it's a temperature gauge. I take a sample of the water what I bring from in the house and I take a reading, and I always make sure that's at about 12 degrees C, because let's face it, if we was to give these mazzies water what's been in this greenhouse, and I mean we're looking at temperature probably 7.8 at the moment in here, if I gave these water more or less at the same temperature what's been stored in here, what am I going to do? Shock them, shock the roots. They'll think they're on the ice bucket challenge. It's like just tipping cold water onto your mazzies, and it certainly will shock the roots. So bear that in mind. Always take a reading off your TDS meter for the temperature of your water before you use it. I know some people warm the water up prior to using it. I've watched Roger's videos where he puts warm water into old plastic milk cartons, puts them in his Vander bucket, and it keeps the water, well, it warms the water up before he uses it. But so many people tend to just go in, use the water that they've got stored and tip it straight on the mazzies, and believe me, you're going to do more harm than good if you don't take the temperature of your water first and make sure it's at least 12 degrees. But that's only me saying that. I'm no expert, but that's what I do for these mazzies, because I certainly don't want to shock them and kill any roots off. One of the other things I tend to do on the mazzies, I look closer to see if it needs water. This one is quite dry, so is this one, but I will always pick one out that's probably still damp on top. And what I tend to do, I use various tools then. I can either use, for the easier ones to water, I can use something like this. It's a water bottle. I can just spray around the edges of the pot and that way, but I'll demonstrate in a minute how I do it, so give me a second. Right, let's just have a look at what I consider don't need any water. If you can see inside that pot here, and the moss is still damp on top, I've got no real new growth coming on that plant at this moment in time. That certainly won't get any water on this watering, and that's Masdevallia. This one, however, one of my cetaceas, which is in bloom, putting up new growth, and is quite dry. If you can see in there, I'll try and go this side, bring it close to the camera. You can see it's quite dry, and it's got new growths appearing under there. I'm sure you can see it. I'm not sure if you can, but it has got new growths. Being in bloom, that definitely needs a water this time, and it's dried out. So how do I do it? On this one, I can get around the pot. I don't want to give it too much. I just give it a little water around the edges of the pot, nowhere near the center of the roots and nowhere near the leaves, and then just let it drain out. I'm sure you can see that draining out. Now if it's a bigger plant, I mean, you don't want to be doing this, using this on every plant you've got to do. So I tend to use a lance, and I tend to do them on a lance. Now let me get another one down that needs watering, that's probably a little bit bigger than that. Let's take Davisii. Not doing brilliant at the moment, but here's Davisii. And on this one, probably just give it a little and let it drain, and that's all I give these mazes during winter. But the main thing to remember is the temperature of your water. It's so easy just to go in a greenhouse, pick up your water bottle, pick up your spray, pick up your jug, tip it straight on your mazes, and unfortunately it's too cold for them, and people don't realise that. I realised a few years ago, when I first started with Masdevallias, that if I can get the watering right in the summer, the winter is the hardest time. And this method and this works on a lot of orchids. I mean, not only Masdevallias, you can use it on other orchids. This one here is one of my Coleogenes Mesangenia. This one. This has got nice roots, as you can see there. It's only a small plant, so it's not just about doing Masdevallias. You can water a lot of orchids this way. I mean, a lot of people are going to say, oh, that's time consuming, I haven't got time to do that. As far as I'm concerned, have you got time to keep going to a supplier and buying new plants? Because shock them, you'll shock the roots, and you'll possibly kill the plant. So think about it. When you're watering in the winter, always consider the temperature of the water and how much water you're giving them. Some of these plants have probably last 2 or 3 weeks without any water at the moment, and some need a lot. Now there's one here, let me reach over, sorry. What's this one? Shane White. I certainly wouldn't give that any water. If I can move the plant out of the way, you can probably see in. My hand's in the way. I wouldn't give that any water because that's still damp from last time. Well, I hope you found that useful, viewers. There's not a lot more I can say about watering in the winter, because of the main issue I've mentioned. I've also got something to show you at the end that's surprised me today. It's not related to orchids, but it's something I've achieved and I'm quite proud of receiving it. For you that know, I did volunteer for the last 2 years. It's something regarding that. So let me catch you in a minute. Well, I hope you found that short video useful, viewers, and I hope it helps people out who's growing Masdevallias, or anybody growing orchids really, because at the end of the day you don't want to be giving them cold water. It's not going to help in any way. When I said you use a TDS meter for temperature, that's what I use, but any temperature gauge will do to check your water, even one out your kitchen. Just make sure that your temperature is higher than your water that you've got stored in your greenhouse. As I say, I store mine in the house, I bring it out here, and I use that. So if you found this video useful, don't forget the old thumbs up. It does help the channel. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. It all helps. It all helps us move on. And for people who was interested in when I was doing the volunteering, let me just put these down. Postman Pat's been today, and I got that from St John's Ambulance, which I've been out with the outreach team. I know it's only a pin badge. I'm sure you can see it for COVID 2021. So thanks, viewers. Thanks for your support on this channel. Thanks for making mixed Masdevallias climb on the algorithms of YouTube. And I appreciate all your comments, every one of you that writes a comment. I know I don't always get it right. I don't think any grower does get it right. But I hope this short video helps people out during the winter months. Once again, thank you. Bye for now.